A small sanctuary, a mirror hiding another world, an occupied store that knocks back, and a strange glowing symbol. Heather stares into the mirror and mutters something to herself, something you can skip. Most players do. But what if you don't? Games talk to us through tutorials, dialogue, the environment, visual and audio cues. All noise we've learned to tune out. But Silent Hill 3 speaks in a different frequency. You can watch every cutscene, solve the puzzles, avenge a death, and even kill a god, and yet still miss the story that matters.
I guess it's time to roll the credits.
It's not quite hidden, but it is completely optional, revealing a hidden layer to the game, often overlooked. And in a game that wrestles with the idea of identity, these lines of text are important. They bring Heather into focus. Skip them, and Heather is just a vessel. Read them, and she's scarily real. So let's examine Heather's thoughts, and uncover exactly how flavor text built one of horror's most human protagonists. This is flavor text. You know the type. Examine a drawer, get nothing useful here. Check a door, it's locked. Filler. Noise. The stuff you mash through to get back to the game. Nothing on the shop counter particularly catches my eye. Utilitarian. Functional. It's just a poster. Big deal. Something about this face. It's a little creepy. Wait, that's an opinion. A reaction beyond nothing here. There are magazines on the shelf. Some of them look interesting, but it's really not the time for that. That's self-awareness. That's personality. I push the button, but the elevator won't come. Is it broken or something? She's problem solving out loud. She's thinking. And these are just random moments in the game where nothing important is happening. But here's the thing. When you add up hundreds of these moments, something emerges. Not world building, not lore. A person. So let's see who that person is. So how does Heather interact with the world around her? Specifically, what does she take and what does she leave behind? And why? Heather is thrown into a bizarre set of events, but as opposed to the typical horror protagonists, where and
What the hell?
is all they have the mental capacity for, Heather reacts and thinks practically. For instance, near the start of the game, when examining souvenirs in the Nightmare amusement park, there are lots of different styles, but I don't really want any of them. I'm getting out of this nasty place. If they had any tools, now that'd be a different story. 3 lines, her personality, her priorities, and her survival instinct. Most horror protagonists would just say, I don't need this. Heather tells you why. And yes, it's bread. It's still a funny meme, but it cuts the line short. It's bread. But I'm not really hungry, so I guess I don't need to worry about it. Heather acknowledges it, but rejects it. This is not unique either. There are boxes and cookies and chocolates on display. I love this kind of stuff, but I don't feel like eating it here and now. And again with clothes. It's not that I hate clothes, but this isn't the time or place. Romance novels? This is just a romance novel. I can't be bothered with it now. Even deodorant that is found after wading through a sewer gets weighed up and dismissed. There's nothing that looks useful in the cardboard box. There's a deodorant inside, but it would probably be a waste of energy. She's not rejecting things she doesn't care about, she's rejecting things she does care about because they won't help her survive. I don't remember exactly when, but I think I got this doll at a garage sale. I still like it, but there's nothing I can do with it right now. A memory, a source of comfort. Relegated to useless, she's triaging her sentimentality. Though, when finding items of use, Heather's demeanor changes rather quickly. Spotting wine bottles in a rather odd place in the underpass, she tries to make sense of it. Wine in a place like this? Well, I suppose it is dark and dry. Only one of the bottles is empty. She takes the empty bottle, spotting it could be useful, but refuses to take another. Carrying more of these bottles would slow me down. Neither Dad or I drink wine anyway. We learn more about her while she justifies her decision. Once you use the empty bottle and take some kerosene from the heater, you can even examine it in your inventory for a little bit of humor. This is for moving kerosene to and from a space heater. Of course I can't drink it. When Heather comes across a ladder in the mall, a ladder is hanging halfway down from the ceiling. Even if I stand on the table and stretch my hands out, I can't reach it. If only I had something long to snag it. But after picking up the wire hanger, she adds, if I straighten out that hanger, Now, there's an idea. This shows her brain working in real time. She identifies the problem, names what she needs, and then connects the dots when she finds it. Many horror protagonists are resourceful, but Heather is human when she does it. She makes sense of the things around her and reasons to herself, even when nothing else makes sense. Ultimately, she doesn't care for trinkets, only tools. But Heather won't do things just because you tell her to. When she does refuse, she has her reasons. In the mall, there's a key under her pallet. She admits she could get to the key if she removed the things on top of it, but it's way too much of a pain to move something that heavy. Have you ever been blocked by a waist-high fence and wondered why your character won't just jump over? Heather is the type of character that tells you straight. If something is heavy, she won't bother. Hospital stretchers are a common trope in Silent Hill games. Heather acknowledges them, often with concern, but sets boundaries for herself. This, covered with a sheet. Nope, I won't even peek. Or, nothing important here. It's not that I'm not concerned, but I choose not to be right now. If I fretted over every damn thing, I would have serious mental overload. She chooses not to peek, chooses not to spiral for the sake of her own mental well-being. This is rare candor for a video game character. It's not as if she's not morbidly curious though. When discovering a bloody locker, she says, "There's blood seeping out the bottom of the locker. Is there something inside? I sort of want to take a look, but the locker door won't open." It's better that way. It's not as if there's anything good in there. She recognizes her morbid curiosity, but regulates it. That at the start, it's Heather catching herself, redirecting. This boundary setting shows up, even when the game isn't forcing a decision. When Heather finds a box filled with mannequin heads, she doesn't investigate or theorize what they mean, just, "This box is filled with mannequin heads. I think I'll pass on this one." I think I'll pass. It's casual, but the casualness is the point. She's learned when to look away, and she doesn't need to explain herself. Long before she learns this lesson though, rows of wine bottles. I don't really feel like eating and drinking stuff from an alternative reality, okay? That okay at the end? She's almost defensive about it, like she needs to justify common sense. It's darkly funny, but it also shows her drawing a new kind of boundary. In the real world, she won't drink because it's impractical. In the nightmare, she won't drink because she's learned not to trust anything this place offers her. And it's not just fear boundaries, Heather draws moral ones too. When Heather comes across a lit cigarette in an ashtray, she states, "No more cigarettes for me. I quit for good." This hints at a rebellious streak, having both started and quit smoking at just 17 years old. But it's also a mundane detail that grounds her. This other side to Heather also makes an appearance in the return to the jewelry store. The glass is broken in the showcase, but it's totally empty. That's too bad. And there was a nice silver ring in here last time I came. Bummer that it's gone, huh? But here's where it gets interesting. Because later in the game, when picking up an old coin to use at a strange vending machine, we get some insight into this. The lamp's shining on some old silver coins I know I've seen before. I got one earlier, so I shouldn't really take any more. I mean, I'm no thief. I might act like one now and then though. It's a joke, but it's also a confession. And yet, despite this, she sets a moral boundary for herself. Because whenever Heather is presented with an opportunity, she always turns it down. Of course, it's not like money might not come in handy, and it goes without saying that it would be nice to have, but I think I'll pass on it anyway. If we try again, she stands firm. No, forget about it. This simple second line is more powerful than it seems. A firm refusal, despite us, the player, trying, shows a boundary she's not willing to cross, even in a nightmare, even when we tell her to. It's such a small thing, but I feel this really sets Heather apart. She refuses to be defined by her worst moments. She draws lines, and with her kick smoking habit and her complete disregard of material things, these boundaries protect her sense of self. They're how she stays Heather. Heather may be a protagonist of a horror game, but she never stops sounding like a normal teenager. Her voice slips through the cracks of the nightmare, dry, awkward, sometimes funny. And it's those little flashes of ordinary life that makes her feel real. She even cares about appearances, mid-nightmare. Faced with a turnstile in a subway, she doesn't think about monsters or escape. She thinks how she'd look doing it. Well, I could hop over too, but that wouldn't look too graceful. A throwaway remark, but it places her firmly in the world of everyday worries. Style matters, especially for a teenage girl. Her humor runs just as dry. In Heaven's Night, she looks at the neon sign promising bliss and scoffs, "Paradise, huh? It's one sleazy paradise, alright." Not a scream, not a shiver, an eye roll. And later, at the happy carousel, don't they mean unhappy carousel? The joke is only for herself, and that's the point. People make small quips when they're nervous, when they need to diffuse a little of the pressure. We've all been there. Sometimes her teenage voice comes through in the smallest observations. In the hospital, she examines a bedside table. Tissue and an alarm clock. Huh, the clock's broken. But otherwise, no big deal. No big deal. In a nightmare hospital, surrounded by rust and blood and things that shouldn't exist, she looks at an alarm clock and shrugs. And when she passes a painting of a flower, a picture of a flower in a vase, nice, but whatever. Nice, but whatever. The trailing dismissal, the verbal equivalent of a teenager scrolling past something on their phone. She's not performing fear or courage, she's just existing, having opinions about decor while the world falls apart. That same detached tone shows up even in darker moments. When she spots a stretcher, why would there be a stretcher here? And who's this sleeping on it? Oops, not sleeping, dead. Oops, like she just bumped into something at the mall. The casual correction from sleeping to dead is so matter of fact it's almost funny. Almost. But Heather most sounds like a teenager when she reaches for the normal. When she sees a phone, her first instinct is painfully ordinary. The phone doesn't work. Well, we all have our hopes. Wish I could get a hold of Dad. Style conscious, dry teenage humor, but at heart, a girl who seeks comfort in a parent. Despite Heather's mission for revenge against Claudia for killing her dad,
Get you for this!
she ultimately fails to follow through when this time comes. This shouldn't come as a surprise though, as her empathy is heavily shown throughout the game. When Heather comes across a strange monster thrashing around in a caged locker, she is at first cautious. Something strange is cooped up in the locker. I think I'm safe, but I shouldn't get too close. But examining again, she begins to feel sorry for it. Actually, the more I look at it, the more pitiful it seems, like a child locked up in there with no chance of escape. This empathy is not something you'd find in other protagonists, especially for monsters of such a nature. This empathy also extends to things as simple as plants. It's withering away. Poor thing. And even people she's not fond of, such as Vincent. I hated him too, but it doesn't mean this makes me happy. Empathy is an important human quality, a quality that is often the first thing horror protagonists lose, as violence and survival take over. So when Heather shows an abundance of empathy in strange places and at strange times, it jolts you back. It reminds you she is a person, not player one. Empathy isn't the only complex emotion Heather struggles with though. She uses self-talk as a coping mechanism when confronted with traumatic scenes. This self-dressing down is best seen when coming across the barbecued dog. What is this? Barbecued dog? Who the hell would make something like this? Furthermore, who the hell would eat it? There's something in the dog's stomach. It first shocks and confuses Heather. She finds a key in its stomach, but she's not done there. There's nothing else to worry about here, other than who the hell is sick enough to do something like this, that is. And even that, I'd really just rather not know. Before finishing with, it's just a roasted dog anyway. I shouldn't let that creep me out. This is textbook self-talk. Revulsion turns to avoidance before reframing it. She lets the shock pass through her sentence, then decides how to carry it. This coping self-talk can be seen again towards the end of the game when returning to the amusement park. It's a rabbit costume leaning up against the wall. Maybe somebody got beaten to death and was just shoved in there. Maybe that big monster killed him. If I'm not careful. Before quickly pivoting, there's no point in worrying, I just have to try and not think about it. And even at the start of the game, before leaving the mall, you can examine the table in the burger restaurant. This is where I was sleeping earlier. Hell, I might still be sleeping here, for all I know. I wish I were. This wish feels personal and private. Something deep inside Heather yearns to be on the other side of this nightmare. It's a realistic and grounded portrayal of how a person thrown into such a scenario would feel. But Heather's nightmare is only just beginning, and it's a battle not just for her life, but for her identity. This identity crisis is one of the first things we see in flavor text. I don't like mirrors. It's almost like there's an unknown world right on the other side, and the person staring at me isn't really me. A quiet line, almost a whisper. She's wary of being mistaken for a copy. A mirror is supposed to confirm who you are. Hevis does the opposite. That unease tells you she's already carrying more than the room shows. History pressing in, expectations pressing back. In the final areas of the game, Heather examines her own childhood, Alessa's childhood, and she has to decide which memories are hers. This picture, that's me. I'm holding the baby and I'm the baby being held.
The me that wanted death and disappeared with God 17 years ago, and the me here and now that sought life.
She can name both sides without letting either swallow the other. No grand speech, no heroic pose, just a steady description of a knot she refuses to cut or tighten. She acknowledges the pull backwards and still leans forwards. The version that reaches for life gets the wheel. That version is Heather. This circle means reincarnation, so death isn't the end. Pretty good deal if you ask me. Thanks to reincarnation, I died as Alessa, but I'm living as myself. But you know, just the thought of it is starting to turn my stomach. She tries to joke about it, pretty good deal. But the bravado doesn't hold. I died as Alessa, but I'm still living as myself. She plants a flag, myself, then admits it makes her sick. The idea might be clean on paper, but not inside her head. She won't pretend it is. Throughout these rooms, she constantly corrects herself. No, it wasn't me. Alessa wrote this a long time ago. You can hear the catch, the small correction. She starts to say I because it would be easier, then she doesn't let herself.
But this struggle continues as memories flood back to her, blurring the line.
My clothes from when I was 7, they don't fit me now. Good thing too.
She encounters a picture of Alessa and states, "It's a picture of me when I was 7. I look bored and sad." Well, of course I do. I was always like that back then. The line between Heather and Alessa is blurred and messy. But there is a moment when Heather comes across a memory of her lowest moment, and it's here in the flavor text we begin to see her choose her own path, not to deny it, but to move on. 24 years ago, Dahlia used me to summon God. God was in my womb, but I couldn't deliver her. Then I was shut up here in this hospital room. I stayed here until Dad helped me out when I was 14. God ate away at me from within, driving me mad with suffering. There I was, wishing I could just die and be done with it. But I went on living that nightmare for 7 years. Looking at this bed just reminds me of those awful days. I don't want to remember them, because I'm not Alessa anymore. But Alessa is still me. I'm really not trying to deny it or anything. I just don't want to remember. Get me out of here.
I don't want to remember. That's the line. Heather chooses, and she chooses herself. All of these are small moments, corrections, winces, private jokes, little choices you make when no one's watching. Instead of pushing the plot forward, they pull a person into focus. The ending is cathartic, and sure, she jokes, talks herself steady, acts brash like any teenager trying not to shake. But the lines that make her human aren't loud, they're optional. The lines I feel best showcase Heather are some of the most easiest to miss. One of the most powerful lines in the game is exactly that. After Heather returns home to find her father dead, she reacts how you would expect. But later, if you approach the chair her father was murdered in, we see her internal heartbreak. Dad, why did you have to die? You told me you were the strongest man in the world. Liar. That last word isn't meant to be harsh, it's air. The myth slips and she grabs what's left. Anger is the handrail when the floor gives way. The house is still a house, but the ordinary parts stop working. When she goes to the kitchen, there's nothing to do in the kitchen. I'm not hungry at all. Who could eat in a situation like this? Even comfort breaks under the weight, like the poster in our room. Morning always comes. It's corny, but it's true. But if your eyes are closed, it always feels like night. That's the hero's line from this movie. I always liked that line, but now it just seems stupid. She hasn't suddenly become heartless. She's outgrown a promise that can't carry her. Subsequent attempts to view the poster relegates it further. It's just a movie poster. Heather is over it. When confronted with her father's body though, her anger hardens into a choice.
I'll find that woman and make her pay. I wonder if my dad would be mad at me for thinking that way.
Rage, then a check against the person who raised her. She's not acting out a video game character trope or being someone we can project onto. She's just a daughter trying to stay herself when the myth of an invincible father finally fades away. By the end, the plot has answers. Heather has something better, herself. Many horror protagonists are blank slates, others go on neat journeys, change, fight, grow. Heather is neither of these. She's a reluctant teenager dragged into a story she's never wanted. When she's forced to face Alessa, and in turn Cheryl, she accepts that's who she was, not who she is. She doesn't become someone new, she refuses to be overwritten. She accepts her flaws and stays the girl her father raised. This is what I believe is Silent Hill 3's most overlooked truth, and it's told almost entirely through flavor text. In the end, it isn't lore that makes her real, it's the diary we've been reading all along. Bread she ignores, tools she seeks, a poster she's outgrown, a bulky stun gun from her overprotective dad she takes with her anyway. Tiny choices, stubborn words. In a town built to rewrite her, she withstands it and stays true to herself. And Heather's final act really cements this. She takes back the name Cheryl,
Cheryl. The name my father gave me.
but she keeps the blonde hair, something neither Alessa nor the first Cheryl had, something unique to her, something she chose for herself. This is who she is, prickly, impulsive, imperfect. She's not trying to escape who she was, she's just deciding who she'll be next. And maybe that's why her story still lingers, because underneath it all, the monsters, the town, the fog, it's not about saving the world, it's about keeping hers.